history and economics. All right. So you're like, what? What? Now I want to tell you something else. Listen. If you don't know, if you don't know where the Khazar conspiracy comes from, and you think it's probably Muslims who are spreading the Khazar conspiracy around, or you think it's Christians who are spreading the Khazar conspiracy around, then you are mistaken. You need to get some education on this. On this video, you should have a better idea of who is spreading the Khazar conspiracy around. Who hates the Ashkenazi Jews who are not afraid to call ourselves Khazars, who are not afraid to admit that we come from Noahide origins? Who hates that? We are the same Jews who go around saying all Jews have Noahide origins. Mizrahi Jews come from Persians, converts. Sephardic Jews come from Umayyad, converts. Falashati, Beta Israel come from Oriental Orthodox converts from the Tawahedo Church. Okay? Well, who hates us most of all? Well, it's those people who consider themselves to have divine bloodlines, who don't want to acknowledge that there is no such thing as a divine bloodline. There is no such thing as children of Israel, a name of God, which is one of the names of God. Israel is actually a name of God, which was given to Jacob. Call yourself children of Jacob is one thing. To call yourself children of Israel, it should mean that you're a believer in that aspect, that attribute of God. It should not mean that you have the divine blood inside of your veins. But these people do believe they have divine blood inside their veins. And they don't have to. You notice they're all secular. Why secular? Because this kind of Jew doesn't believe they have to observe any kind of Judaism. For them, Judaism is not the seed of God. For them, their blood is the seed of God. It's not something which anybody has access to. This is what Ashkenazi Jews have always taught. Anybody has access to this. Any Noahide has access to the seed, to be the inheritance of God, and inherit that seed by adopting Noahide Judaism. You adopt this halakhic kosher form of Judaism described in the Talmud, described in the Gospels, for goodness sake, described and mentioned in Mount Sinai, where the word for Noahide is ger in all the books of the Torah. And we're saying that the seed that God has given you, his name, which is pollute ourselves when we marry non-Jews. That's what they believe. That's the kind of, so that's why they hate us. So they spread around the conspiracy theory about the Khazars to undermine the legitimate Orthodox Judaic teachings as preserved throughout the past 2,000 years, especially amongst the European Ashkenazi rabbonim and rabbinical tradition. They hate it. They want to abolish it. They have more in common religiously with Sadducees and Karaites than they have in common with scribes and Pharisees. They despise and hate the scribes and the Pharisees. The scribes and the Pharisees were given a condition when the state of Israel was established. They gave us the right to not be involved in any kind of militaristic state or politics. They allowed us to simply continue to live and study Torah, Mishnah, Talmud in yeshivot in East Jerusalem, and we stayed there. We didn't even acknowledge the arrival of the state of Israel. But in order to make us feel closer to them, they said, we love you, and we're going to pay you. We're going to give you money to continue to study the Torah. You don't have to do any work. We're going to give you benefits so you can study Torah. I said, well, thank you very much. We'll take the money. That's very kind of you. So we took the money. And then just last year, they decided to cancel those benefits. People had become dependent on this unless you go and serve in the IDF. In other words, unless you give up on pacifist Judaism, you will no longer be allowed to do this. Unless you give up on pacifist Judaism and come and join the we don't consider you to be Torah scholars if you're going to go around telling people that the establishment of the State of Israel was illegal according to Halakhic Judaism, which it was. It was illegal according to Halakhic Judaism. There's something called the Three Oaths in Halakhic Judaism, which was broken by the establishment of the State of Israel. They said, well, we're not going to keep on paying you if you're going to go tell everybody that this is the fact. So they have literally turned their backs on religious Orthodox Judaism, and they're saying we have our own form of Orthodox Judaism. When the State of Israel nowadays refers to Orthodox Judaism, It does not mean legitimate Orthodox Judaism as was practiced prior to the Holocaust for thousands of years. That's not what it means anymore. It is not the religion of the Romanians. Interestingly enough, the Romanian Jews, whose minhag I promote on this channel, are the only ones who are not mentioned in this army of GoG. You've got the Ashkenazim, you've got the Sephardim, you've got the Beta Orthodox Jews. That's why I've been promoting their minhag all this time. And from the establishment of Romanian minhag, which was around just after the time of Alexander the Great until now, they have continued to exist, but they are not acknowledged in the state of Israel. In the state of Israel, you have two chief rabbis. You have an Ashkenazi and a Sephardi. That's basically a Gomerite chief rabbi and a Umayyad foot chief rabbi. And they really want to have only one chief rabbi. That's why they're so angry about Ashkenazi. They want to abolish the Ashkenazi tradition completely, and they want to have one Sephardic chief rabbi for all Jews. All Jews everywhere are supposed to come under the one Sephardic chief rabbi. That's what they want. And there is no Romaniat representation. All Romaniats, they say, well, they just come under the Sephardim. We don't need to have Romaniats anymore. Also, Bukharian Jews and Persian Jews, they say we don't need to have Persian minhag or Bukharian minhag. You're all Sephardim. Just come underneath the Sephardic chief rabbi. They're trying to do the same with the Falashas, the Beta Israel, which are starting to come under the Sephardim, and they are really, really angry that the Ashkenazim are holding out all of this time and continually pushing the idea that the establishment of the State of Israel is illegal, and continually pushing the idea that we all descend from Noahides. They're very angry about this, and continually they're furious about the fact we criticize Yichus and say, look, the Yichus is no good. And plenty of Ashkenazim are going over to them, and that is causing the death of truth. But even if there are just 3,000 Jews left on the planet, and they could be from amongst the Sephardim, the Ashkenazim, the Beta Israel, or the Mizrahim, they could be from any of these communities who are saying the truth, who are standing for the truth and saying, no, it's true, we can't say about our yichus, we don't have perfect yichus. We are basically just a more Torah observant group of Noahides. If whoever they are, they could be from any community, but there's probably only going to be about 3,000 of us left. Okay, they say God says that He has this remnant of 3,000 which He preserves. So there's always the minimum number, 3,000 of us, maybe around the world, telling the truth as it is. But we will be preserved, and in the end, the nations will hear and learn the truth about Judaism, and they will be able to resist this militaristic GoG sort of version of Judaism, which has emerged since the Holocaust over the past 80 years, and they will just carry on pointing out the ridiculousness of these people who believe that they have divine blood flowing through their veins and are somehow different from other people on the planet, that other people on the planet are not really human. And that's why they can treat them the way they do when they invaded Gaza, for example. Now, of course, I'm not taking the side of Hamas in any of this. Those people will say, oh, you're so on the side of the Muslims and Hamas. I'm not on the side of Hamas. Anybody who's heard this channel and heard the way I've basically ripped apart Islam historically, and I've shown the historical Islam is very different from the standard narrative of Islam. Nobody can say that I'm on the side of standard narrative Islam, and therefore, the Hamas people are going to be very, very angry about what I've got to say, and that nobody can say I'm on the side of Hamas or anything like that. Absolutely not. That kind of demonic Gentile, because not all Gentiles are like that. Gentiles are the ones who are called to be Noahides. But the demonic Gentiles do exist. People who are practicing paganism and Satanism. That kind of demonic Gentile exists. And Hamas is that kind of demonic Gentile. They are demonic Gentiles. Okay? And that kind of demonic Gentile is, according to Judaism, better than the kind of demonic Jews we're talking about. Why? Because a demonic Gentile isn't expected to be anything better than demonic. That's who they are. But a Jew is expected to be better than that. And so when a Jew starts behaving like a demonic Gentile, they're at a lower level than the demonic Gentiles. So these are literally this kind of person we're just looking at just now. This it's Exarca, the Likud, okay, of Likud. Who they? Yes, you'll say, oh, wait a second, didn't they kick him out of Likud? Yes, they did. But did you hear that when the stink was over concerning this publicization of him, did you hear that Likud secretly welcomed him back? So don't think that Likud has purified itself from such people. No, Likud depends upon such people. Likud works for such people. That's who Likud are. They do not represent Jews or Judaism. They represent GoG, as it says. GoG will deceive those nations, those Noahide nations in the four corners of the earth. The Noahide Gomorites, the Noahide Cushites, the Noahide Persians, and the Noahide Futtites. That is the Ashkenazim, the Beta Israel, the Mizrahim, and the Sephardim. He will deceive them so that they will come and take over Judaism for themselves. They will take a plunder for themselves. They will come against the camp of God's people, and they will take over Zionism. They'll take over the mountain of God, and they will turn it into a hell. And that's what they've done. It's a prophecy which has been fulfilled. That's how we know that we're living in the time of Gog and Magog. Now, I know it's a little bit complicated, and you had to watch a whole 1 hour and 28 minutes in order to get all of this. But if you have watched it from the beginning to the end, then you should have the full picture, and you will understand exactly where we are prophetically with regards to where the Bible's sort of prophecies are being fulfilled. We're at that point. That's where we are. And you now know exactly who Gog's armies are, who Gomer and Cush and Put and Persia are. You know exactly who they are. And you know that those people who have gotten into bed with Netanyahu and Likud and these people who worship Itzik Zarka and that kind of person, you know that means Elon Musk and Donald Trump are all part of that little Gog army. So don't be deceived anymore. The Khazar conspiracy theory is not being pushed by Muslims and Christians, except the most idiotic Muslims and most idiotic Christians who do not check and do their background checks to find out where this conspiracy come from and what is it actually based on. It's being pushed by none other than those secret agents who work for Likud and the types like Itzik Zarka who push this conspiracy theory out there to make the nations hate the Ashkenazim so that they don't have to deal with the abuse that we suffer, that the state of Israel doesn't have to deal with it. They can sit back and relax and wait for the nations to massacre all of the Ashkenazim. And they are happy about that. They are looking forward to that. They want that to happen. That's why they are saying they are proud of 6 million Jews, Ashkenazim Jews being killed, and they want 6 million more Ashkenazim Jews to be killed. The Khazar conspiracy theory is part of their plan. It is part of Gog's plan. And guess what? The Khazars come from, remember the Azov Khazars, the Sea of Azov, the White Khazars of the Azov Sea. They come from the Caucasus Mountains. Now, Caucasus is Gog-As. It's Gogus Mountains. It's the area of Magog. So Gog actually comes from, don't think to yourself, well, isn't Netanyahu an Ashkenazi? Gog actually comes from Magog. He comes from Ashkenaz area. He comes from that. And he hates the rest of us in Magog who speak the truth against him. Remember, the Holocaust took place in the land of Magog when the Russians were taking over Romania and Ukraine and South Russia and massacring all the Jews down there in Crimea. That Nazi Holocaust of all of the Jews in that area was part of the plan. They released Gog, who had been imprisoned in the land of Magog, in that area. So Gog has been released. Let me get this clear. Somebody just asked a question here. I have to clarify. So wait a second. They think He says, Gappa says, so GoG is Putin? No, you have to watch the whole show. I mean, you should have been watching the whole show and you'll understand it. No, GoG